Right, so get ready, because today we're diving into a world that's a lot more exotic than your usual, pet store.
Yeah, there are.
We're going to be talking about exotic pets,
Yeah,
legally owned, but a little different from your standard cat or dog.
exactly. And we're going to be looking at a list from 10mosttoday.com, published in 2018, called 10 Most Exotic Pets You Can Legally Own.
So, I mean, when someone says pet to me, I immediately think like golden retriever fetching a frisbee or a cat, napping in a sunbeam.
Right.
But we're talking about things like a southern Tamandua.
Yeah.
Now that's a conversation starter. I
Yeah.
don't know anyone who has one of those.
You don't see those very often. Most people know them as anteaters, and they're solitary creatures from South America. Just imagine trying to recreate their natural diet of ants and termites in your backyard.
That's a lot of ants.
It is, and that's really the point. When we think about owning these exotic animals, we really have to think about the complexities and responsibilities involved in meeting those very specialized needs.
Yeah. Definitely not your typical, kibble and water bowl situation.
Right.
But before we get too far down that road of the ethical considerations, let's back up a little bit.
Sure.
Look at some other creatures on this list. I'm really curious about this one. The boa constrictor.
Okay.
I mean, a giant snake as a pet. That's a lot to wrap your head around, literally.
Well, they grow anywhere from 3 to 13 feet long, longer than some cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little hard to picture that kind of snake coiling up comfortably in the living room, I think. It definitely challenges our typical notion of what a pet is.
Yeah. And a lifespan of 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
Talk about commitment. And you're feeding them mice and chicken, like that's a whole other conversation.
That's a lot of mice.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to something a little smaller and maybe a little less intimidating. Or more, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
The Mexican red-legged tarantula. I've heard they're actually pretty low-key, even for a spider.
They are. They're considered quite docile, actually. They'd rather use their urticating hairs for defense than bite.
Urticating hairs.
Yeah, those are quite fascinating, actually. They're barbed and can cause irritation and even allergic reactions in predators. So, talk about an effective deterrent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these creatures have evolved these like very specific defense mechanisms.
It is, yeah.
Speaking of unique, how about the Madagascar hissing cockroaches?
Okay.
These are definitely not the kind that you find, scurrying under your fridge.
Right. These guys are flightless, which is kind of odd for a cockroach. And get this, they can climb smooth surfaces like glass. So, picture them scaling your kitchen window. That'd be a different kind of house guest. And they can grow up to 3 inches long, which is, pretty substantial for an insect.
Yeah, definitely not your average house pest. And a lifespan of up to 5 years. That's pretty impressive for a cockroach. I'm starting to notice a theme here.
Yeah.
These exotic pets definitely need a different level of care and understanding compared to our typical furry friends.
Yeah.
All right, enough about creepy crawlies for now.
Okay.
Let's go to something a little bit more reptilian. Green iguana, for instance.
Yeah.
Known for their kind of calm demeanor, but I've seen pictures. They get huge.
They do. Green iguanas can grow to be an impressive 1.5 meters long.
Wow.
Almost 5 feet longer than most toddlers. And, trying to house a reptile that size with their very specific temperature and lighting needs, it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
It really makes you appreciate the dedication and knowledge that it takes to actually own an exotic pet.
It does.
Let's shift gears again, this time to the animal kingdom's champion glider. The flying squirrel. Although, I hear the term flying might be a little bit of a misnomer.
That's true. They don't actually fly. They glide gracefully from tree to tree using a membrane of skin between their front and hind legs. It's really a remarkable adaptation that allows them to navigate their arboreal habitats with incredible agility. And you might be surprised by their diet. They're omnivores, happily munching on fruits and nuts, but also insects and even small animals. It's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving in the animal kingdom.
Yeah. Speaking of surprising, did you know that their internal organs are actually visible through their skin? That's not something you see in your typical hamster.
It's not.
Really makes you wonder what other secrets the animal kingdom holds.
It does. Yeah, there's so much we still don't know about the incredible diversity of life on this planet. But let's journey to a different ecosystem altogether.
Okay.
To the scorching deserts of North Africa, where the adorable fennec fox reigns supreme.
Oh, I've seen pictures of those.
Yeah.
Those oversized ears, they're so cute. But I imagine those ears are more than just a fashion statement, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Those large ears are a crucial adaptation to that harsh desert environment. They help to dissipate heat and regulate body temperature, which
Yeah.
allows the fennec fox to thrive in those scorching conditions. It makes you think, could you replicate those conditions in a typical home?
Probably not without a serious effort.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. That's a really good point that highlights how just because you can legally own an animal doesn't necessarily mean it's easily adaptable to domestic life. I mean, I can see why people are drawn to them, those big ears and their adorable faces, but
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of appealing looks, the chestnut spotted genet,
Okay.
next on our list. They seem like they would be a fascinating pet, but maybe a slightly challenging one.
That's an apt description. They aren't known for being particularly cuddly, and they don't do well in groups. Interestingly, though, they can live with cats and dogs if they're raised together from a young age. It's just another highlight of the importance of early socialization, even in the world of exotic pets.
Yeah, it makes sense. The sooner they learn to kind of um, adapt to their social environment, the better.
Hmm.
But I would imagine changing environments or caretakers could be pretty stressful for them. I
Yeah.
mean, that's definitely a big commitment to take on an animal that has such specific needs.
Speaking of big commitments, how about a pet that's the size of a small dog?
What?
The capybara,
Okay.
the largest rodent in the world.
Now, that's an image I got to process, a giant rodent just roaming around the house.
Yeah.
They can weigh up to 70 kilos, that's more than I weigh.
Capybaras are herbivores, though, so at least their diet is a little bit more simple than some of the carnivores we've talked about. And here's a cool fact. They're surprisingly good swimmers.
Oh, really?
They can stay underwater for up to 5 minutes.
5 minutes? That's incredible. Sadly, in some parts of the world, they're hunted for their meat and pelt, which, I mean, it's a stark reminder that the exotic pet trade can have, really complex conservation implications. It's not just about, individual animals. It's about protecting entire populations in the wild.
You've hit the nail on the head. That desire for exotic pets can fuel the illegal capture and trade of wild animals, which puts a lot of pressure on already vulnerable populations. It's a reminder that our choices as pet owners can have, ripple effects that go far beyond our homes.
Makes you realize that we need to be more mindful of the origins of our exotic pets.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Supporting responsible breeders and organizations that prioritize ethical and sustainable practices. That's really important.
It is.
So for our final stop on this exotic pet adventure, we're going back to the world of arachnids.
Okay.
The emperor scorpion. That's a name that evokes both fear and fascination.
It is. It's certainly a creature that commands attention. One of the largest scorpion species, and their lifespan of 6 to 8 years is relatively long for an invertebrate.
Yep.
And here's a detail that might pique your interest. They glow a pastel green under ultraviolet light.
Now, that's something you don't see every day.
You don't.
Makes you appreciate those hidden wonders that the animal kingdom holds.
Hmm.
This has been an incredible journey so far, from giant snakes to glow-in-the-dark scorpions. It's amazing. The variety of exotic pets people legally own is mind-boggling.
It really is. It's been quite an exploration, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that owning an exotic pet, it's not just about the wow factor.
Right.
It's about understanding their complex needs, providing proper care and respecting their wild nature.
It's really fascinating to think about the motivations behind owning an exotic pet.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about having a companion, right? It's like having like a living piece of the wild in your home.
Right. It's a very unique form of connection to the natural world,
Yeah.
but it's one that, as we've discussed, comes with a pretty hefty responsibility.
Yeah.
Imagine, for instance, trying to replicate the habitat of a fennec fox in your living room.
Right.
I mean, these desert-adapted creatures need a very specific environment to truly thrive.
Yeah, it's not as simple as, having a spacious backyard or something. You're literally trying to recreate an entire ecosystem
You are, yeah.
with all of its, complexities and nuances.
Exactly.
Speaking of complexities, I'm curious about the chestnut-spotted genet.
Okay.
They seem like they'd be, a fascinating pet, but but also a pretty challenging one.
Absolutely. Genets are solitary creatures, not known for being particularly cuddly. They can be territorial, and introducing them to other animals, even cats or dogs, requires, very careful and early socialization. It's a reminder that exotic pets, often retain many of their wild instincts, even in a domestic setting.
Right. And it makes you realize that owning an exotic pet isn't just about like providing food and shelter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
It's about understanding their innate behaviors
Yeah.
and then like creating an environment that respects those natural tendencies.
Exactly, and that can be quite challenging,
Yeah.
especially for someone new to exotic pet ownership. For instance, consider the green iguana.
Oh, yeah.
These impressive reptiles, they require specialized lighting to mimic the sun's rays,
Hmm.
which is crucial for their health and well-being.
It's fascinating how those like seemingly simple things,
Yeah.
like lighting can play such a vital role in an animal's health.
It is, yeah.
Really highlights that, the level of research and preparation that's needed before you bring an exotic pet into your home.
Absolutely.
Speaking of research, I'm curious about the availability of veterinary care for these unique animals.
Yeah.
I imagine it's not as simple as finding a vet for a cat or a dog.
You're absolutely right. Finding a vet who specializes in exotic animals, it can be a real challenge. And even then, the cost can be significantly higher than for your traditional pets.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely not something to be taken lightly. I mean, the financial commitment alone is a big hurdle for a lot of people.
It is.
And then beyond those like practicalities, there's the ethical dimension to consider.
Right.
And the exotic pet trade, as we've kind of touched upon, can have some pretty far-reaching consequences for conservation efforts.
It can. The demand for these exotic pets can, unfortunately fuel the illegal capture and trade of wild animals, which puts additional pressure on already vulnerable populations. And it's just another reminder that our choices as pet owners can have ripple effects, that extend far beyond our homes.
Yeah, it makes you realize that we need to be more mindful, I think, of the origins of our exotic pets. Supporting responsible breeders and organizations that are prioritizing, ethical and sustainable practices.
Yeah.
That's paramount.
Absolutely. It's equally important to consider the well-being of the animal itself, right?
Yeah.
Some of these exotic pets, despite being legally available, just simply aren't suited for a domestic environment.
Right.
Their complex social needs or specific habitat requirements. I mean, those can be nearly impossible to replicate in your typical home.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that just because something's, legal doesn't necessarily mean it's ethical or in the best interest of the animal.
It doesn't.
Sometimes the most responsible choice is to, admire these creatures from afar.
Yeah.
Whether that's, in their natural habitats or through, ethical and educational sanctuaries.
Well said. It's about appreciating the beauty and diversity of the animal kingdom without necessarily needing to possess it.
Right. Speaking of appreciation, I've been so struck by the incredible adaptations that we've talked about today.
Yeah.
The gliding ability of the flying squirrel, the urticating hairs of the tarantula, the heat dissipating ears of the fennec fox. It's amazing how evolution has shaped these creatures to thrive in their unique environments.
It really is a testament to the power of natural selection and the incredible diversity of life on our planet. And it makes you wonder what other remarkable adaptations are out there just waiting to be discovered.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it?
It is.
And it really underscores the importance of, conservation efforts.
Yes.
We need to protect these habitats and ensure that, these incredible species have a place in the world for generations to come.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we share this planet with a multitude of fascinating beings, each with their own, unique role to play in this intricate web of life.
Thinking back to the Mexican red-legged tarantula and its urticating hairs,
Mm.
it makes me wonder about the role of venom in the animal kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's often seen as a weapon, right?
Right.
But it can also be like a fascinating adaptation with a variety of uses beyond just defense.
It can. Venom, it can be incredibly complex, both in its composition and its effects.
Yeah.
Some venoms are used primarily for hunting.
Right.
Others play a role in digestion or even communication.
Wow. Yeah, it's a reminder that even the most seemingly fearsome aspects of nature can have, these fascinating, uh, scientific and ecological significance.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of scientific research and understanding those complexities of the natural world.
Speaking of complexities, let's circle back to the emperor scorpion and
Yeah.
its remarkable ability to glow, under ultraviolet light.
Right.
It's a phenomenon that has, fascinated scientists for years.
It has, yeah.
Do we know why they glow?
There are a few theories, but the exact reason it remains a little bit of a mystery. Some scientists believe it might help them attract prey,
Hmm.
while others suggest it could be a way for them to communicate with each other or even a form of camouflage.
It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the animal kingdom, even about creatures that we think we understand.
Right.
This deep dive has definitely left me with more questions than answers, but in a good way.
I agree. It sparked a sense of curiosity and wonder that will hopefully stay with us, long after this conversation ends.
It's easy to get caught up in the wow factor of exotic pets,
Yeah.
but I think this conversation has highlighted the importance of approaching this topic with a more nuanced and informed perspective.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the responsibility that comes with, sharing our lives with these incredible creatures. It's about understanding their needs, respecting their wild nature, and ensuring their well-being, both as individuals and as species.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this whole topic.
We have.
I mean, from the incredible adaptations of these creatures to like the ethical complexities of actually owning them. It's clear that exotic pets aren't just like a passing fad.
No.
They represent like this really complex intersection of our fascination with the natural world and then also our responsibilities as stewards of the planet.
You've summed it up perfectly, I think. It's a topic that really does demand that careful consideration and a willingness to look, beyond the surface.
Yeah. And I think that's the key takeaway for our listeners today.
Absolutely.
If you're thinking about bringing an exotic pet into your life, it's crucial to approach it with the sense of responsibility, a commitment to really researching and a deep understanding of the animal's needs.
Couldn't agree more. It's about ensuring the well-being of the animal, both physically and psychologically. It's about creating an environment that mimics their natural habitat as closely as possible, providing a diet that meets their specific nutritional requirements, and seeking out veterinary care from specialists who understand the unique challenges of caring for these exotic species.
Yeah. And being honest with yourself about whether you can really truly provide that long-term care and commitment that these animals they deserve.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most responsible choice is to just admire them from a distance.
Right.
Through ethical and educational sanctuaries or supporting conservation efforts in their native habitats.
So that's a perspective I wholeheartedly endorse. There are so many ways to appreciate the beauty and diversity of the animal kingdom without necessarily owning a piece of it.
So for those listeners who are still really intrigued by the prospect of exotic pet ownership, what's like the one piece of advice that you would give them?
I would say do your homework.
Okay.
And then do some more homework. Talk to experienced exotic pet owners. Consult with veterinarians who specialize in these animals, and really just delve into the research. Understand the laws and regulations surrounding exotic pet ownership in your area, and most importantly, be honest with yourself about whether you can truly provide the care and commitment that these animals deserve.
It's about making an informed and responsible decision,
Exactly.
one that puts the well-being of the animal above all else.
Precisely. And remember, responsible exotic pet ownership isn't just about that individual animal. It's about contributing to the conservation of these species for future generations.
Well said. This has been a really insightful conversation, and I hope our listeners have gained a deeper understanding of the complexities and the considerations surrounding exotic pet ownership. It's a topic that's sure to spark, continued debate and discussion.
Oh, yeah.
And I encourage everyone to to keep exploring, to keep learning about these fascinating creatures.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure diving deep into this topic with you.
Likewise.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the world of legally owned exotic pets. If you're inspired to learn more, we encourage you to, do your own research, visit a local zoo or a wildlife sanctuary, or support organizations that are dedicated to the conservation of these incredible species.
And if you could legally own any animal, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, share them with us on social media using the hashtag the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.